Let me check the directions real quick.
We can wait.
I think you would have told me.
Worried about you.
Crowd today.
Come on in. Make yourself at home. Are we? Have you started that? Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we will put this meeting to order. And the first order of business is the county town special election. How do you want to approach this?
I'll just lay out what I know. On Friday of last week, I received an email from, the bond council attorney asking for the sample ballot. And in my conversation with him, he was like, had said that the city of Tonytown was holding a special election. We had not received any paperwork for the special election, and I checked with the county clerk's office, and she had not received any paperwork for the special election. The paperwork had been filed in the circuit clerk's office and not the county clerk's office. And so, they have.
Did you recognize that right away? That's where you
I-
thought it might be?
I just, when she said, do you know anything about this? I was like, I haven't heard anything at all. And then the first thing I thought of, I wonder if they filed it in the wrong place.
Kind of wondering how we got to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so, and with that, then the city of Tonytown has since filed the ordinance calling for the special election, which is what you have a copy of, with the county clerk's office. They filed that yesterday. And, from my understanding, we are past the deadline to hold a special election with the March primary.
When was the day?
70 days before the election, which would have been December 27th, when you account for the holiday of Christmas.
And this was filed with the, circuit clerk, before the deadline.
It was filed 11/22/23.
And so we have been asked
To,
to include this special election for this, ordinance, in the upcoming March primary election.
that is correct.
What's our chance of doing it? What is that called? What is that? First of all, I guess, can we, maybe this is the question, right? Can we override the 70-day notice?
Well, I think the first question is, where does it say the notice? Because I want to.
At the very bottom,
At the bottom.
yeah. And also in the,
This is ACA 711-205.
yes,
Dates of special elections on measures and questions.
yes. It also should
Separate ballots.
in the ordinance as well. The language that the city has is in the ordinance as well.
70 days. With the county clerk.
And then if you look on page 4 of the city ordinance, that language is also in the city ordinances.
Where
Section 6.
Citing statute, I mean, based on statute.
So there's 3 locations that the city is responsible for delivering the copy of this ordinance. To the county clerk, to the election commission, and to the commissioner of revenues of the state of Washington. Okay. But that's not, it doesn't have a date on it, so.
So backing up with this, with the election coming up, we already approved ballots, right?
The ballots have been approved. The hard deadline that we're coming up on right now is the federal deadline for absentee ballots, which is 47 days before the election, which would be next Friday, January the 19th.
Has this been filed with the county clerk at all? Or-
Yes, it was
has
filed
been
yesterday.
Yesterday, got it. So that was January 9th. I haven't looked, Brian, have you looked to see if there's any case law studying this statute?
I've not, but I think Justin has. Justin Eichman here is the city attorney for Connie Town, and he's looked at some stuff we've had from comfort or some communication about it. And he can probably speak more to that as on what he found. Right, what your thoughts are.
I would say you, Madam Chairman.
What, that you present, please,
Yeah, thank you.
enlighten us.
I appreciate, I'll try, and I'm going to be brief. Justin Eichman, I'm the city attorney of Connie Town, Mayor Angela Russell and Chief Corey Jennison. Appreciate y'all being here and listening to this. Quite honestly, if we were able to do the quarterly election still and all that, I think we would, simply roll to the next one. We're in a bind. This is a election to take an existing tax, issue bonds to build a police station. If you've driven by Town City Hall, you see that the police is like spilling out on the parking lot, so they're busting at the seams. And, that's what we're trying to do. So really appreciate that consideration. Couple points, and then I'll talk about case. The direction was to file the ordinance in the county clerk, specifically when you go upstairs, pick a left and pick a right. One on the left's county, one on the right. I've made that mistake before, and just walking into the wrong office. The employee who did it, got confused, thought she was in the right one, filed it. Actually, after she filed it, she looked at her ordinance that she filed, and she made a mistake in the ordinance number. And she panicked, and she immediately called the circuit clerk and said, I've got an election ordinance I just filed. I think I messed up on the number. Can I replace the front page? And they had a discussion back and forth. Some emails went back and forth on it. Finally, an email was sent by somebody at the circuit clerk's office that said, understand that you have this time sensitive ordinance and that you need to get that ordinance number fixed. We won't do it just this one time. We will replace it, all that sort of thing. And so she made every effort to try to get it into the right office, and then it just didn't get caught. Come to our knowledge, it was in the wrong office until Ryan Bowman had to call with Jennifer. So that's how it happened. Every attempt was made to do that properly. I have looked at cases as sometimes happens in Arkansas. You don't get the case with exactly the facts, but you get something that's fairly close. And I've had a number of discussions with Ryan Bowman at Friday Eldridge and Clark, who's bond counsel. And the closest case I've seen is Reichenbach versus Syria, which is a Supreme Court case from.
You have a copy of that?
I can send it to you right now. I'm happy to do that. I'm sorry, I didn't come from my office. I came from Izard County yesterday, and I've come from there. But the 1992 case, and it had to do with an election in which the county judge had failed to enter an order, and there was a notice put out, and there was a challenge to the election, and the court said really looked at it to see whether it was a free and fair election. That said that a free and fair election cures a procedural default. And so
That's what you were talking about earlier, right?
yeah, and it's basically that principle, because there's a lot of stuff that happens prior to an election. I don't even pretend to know everything that you all have to administer over, but there's opportunity for procedural default. And if you have a free and fair election, then that becomes directory and not something that will overturn the will of the people. And so that is kind of the basis. We think we can hold a free and fair election. That is simply a clerk who should turn left when she turned right, and then followed up and thought she had put it in the right place and hadn't. And we all wish we would have caught it before the 27th, but it's just put us in this bind where we want to be able for the voters to weigh in on this question, and so that's why we're here. happy to discuss further. I don't know, Mayor, Chief, if you want to add in on anything that I said.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that Leslie did call in, there was email tonight. As Justin had said, the day that it happened. And the day that we filed it in the wrong place, she did call that afternoon, actually before the afternoon. And she did try to get it in the right place at that time. And she was told, yes, it was going to the correct place, and it was not. So I just beg you to please consider this, and I would greatly appreciate it. This is going to affect we have people that's holding land for us. And they're holding the land for our police department. And if this doesn't pass and it goes to November, we're going to lose that property. And I know it's not your fault, but I'm just asking for some understanding, please.
I just want to say thank you for having this meeting and I think this is opportunity. Like Mr. Atkins said, our police department started in 2013. There was 5 officers. This year we have 19. We had a remodel of City Hall. We share that building with them. Our parking lot is also shared with the city park. We were running out of space, not only in our parking lot, but our office space. The design of the building was, and the growth of the police department wasn't ever thought to be this fast. Our evidence room, we've had to move officers into shared office space, move our records and storage in other places because our evidence room is overflowing, which simply just run out of space in the building that we're in. So we've reached a position where we don't have any other options other than build a new police department. So I appreciate your consideration on this. Thank you.
What do you have to say?
Well, so look, I guess I just want to comment. I appreciate you guys being here. And I certainly appreciate the situation you were in, but I want to state that from my perspective, the decision we'll make today has nothing to do with the substance at all of the situation you were in, right? Or the merits of the question, nothing to do with it whatsoever. So I want to make that clear, right? Any decision we make will be a decision based on the law and Arkansas law. So
I would also like to say that, everybody makes mistakes, and certainly, go turn right, to the left, to the right, and whatever happened is not a serious, problem. What I question is on the ordinance itself, in the section 6, it says, be filed with the Washington County Clerk at least 70 days prior to the date of the special election and be given to the Washington County Board of Election Commission for the necessary election officials may be provided. That "and" is where I kind of wonder, when was that going to happen?
Most of the time when an ordinance is filed with the clerk's office, she forwards the information.
That means,
Yeah.
from my understanding, that would come from you.
My only point there is not to embarrass the Maryland. Maybe that's a lesson learned, that if we do miss it at the courthouse, so we give it to these ladies. This would have been, wouldn't have happened. Is there anything in the law that anybody knows of that gives any instruction or direction of what to do in cases of issues similar to this?
yeah, I was going to ask Jennifer, the state board at all.
I had a brief conversation with the director of the state board, and he cannot give legal advice. And so, but, he did say that, it has to come through Becky's office, to come to us for the election commission to make that decision. I don't know, I haven't asked him. I know that that in Benton County, there have been other instances where entities have tried to hold an election and they have filed past the deadline and they did not proceed with the election. So.
I think to Jim's question, is there anything that would even allow us to consider placing this question on the ballot under Arkansas law? And yeah, I have the same question and I don't see anything at this point in time.
I think before we take any kind of a vote, assuming that that's what we're going to do. I think we need to also determine what the next options are if we can't do this in March. I think you said that there's a possibility, if there's an emergency,
Mhm.
to do a special election in May.
Yes, so if you look at the law that I have provided for you, 711-205, it does talk about emergency special election that would be held on a date other than the date specified, which actually would mean that you wouldn't have to wait until May to do it. But it would require a 2/3 vote of the members of the party calling for the election. And then it lays out some of the emergency clauses. That would be up to the city to determine whether they believe that holding an election, not with the primary or the general, qualifies as an emergency. It does allow for someone to file claim in circuit court that, that a true emergency doesn't exist. And then the election would be nullified, but that might be an avenue. If you look at that portion of the law about holding an emergency election. The 70-day deadline would still be the same for when you file it with the county clerk's office.
That's why it would have to be in May.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So, but I don't know if that's an avenue that you have looked at to see if this would be defined, losing the land, not being able to build, for the city of Torrington.
Would that be a vote?
It has not been looked at. I think that would probably be the next step for us to look at, should you, feel like it could be placed on the ballot for March. I would need to get some, advice from the bond council, on that to see. I have not had one of those. I've not had an emergency special.
This would be the first, this
Yeah.
law was just passed this year, so it would be the first one held under these circumstances.
Brian, can you give us your take on this?
Well, yeah, and as the attorney for the county, I pointed out that I think the law is clear in what it says. I don't think there's any ambiguities for us to argue over. I certainly feel bad for the position that the city's in. I understand, because in doing these and having done these with the county, I know how tedious and just, stressful these things are in and of themselves without having to run into an issue like this. But I don't know that I could advise the county to, take action that contradicts with state law. I would agree with Mr. Eichmann that there may very well be a way that this is done, even a challenge, the court would rule similarly and say, hey, there's no evidence. I don't know if there's any evidence, and they did everything right. With the exception of this. And so, I don't think I can just say, hey, just disregard this. I think it speaks for itself. I'm glad to hear that there is an avenue, a possible avenue, should you all decide to, say, listen, it was filed on the 9th, and that's not within 70 days of the election, but we can go forward, which is good, because they don't lose everything, but I certainly understand it puts them into a bit of a pickle. So,
Well, as I understand what you're saying, then, excuse me, as an election commission, we don't have an option other than to obey what's in the law here.
there's no, there's been a lot of talk, and I know I've talked with Mr. Eichmann and I've talked with Mr. Fott at Stevens about the intent behind the law. And we, as attorneys, we often look at what the intent is behind the law. And which gives us good legal argument sometimes for a court to consider what's going on. Unfortunately, this 70 days, and I know there's some talk about what the intent was, to make sure that the election commission had plenty of time to get it on a ballot. They didn't put anything in here that says 70 days or less if it works out for the election commission. So I don't know of I've not come across any statute that says, hey, here's a way that you can lower that time based on extenuating circumstances.
Okay, did you have something?
I was going to give you a real-time update. Texted with the bond council, and we just want to confirm that we would not be able to do the emergency. I think the qualifications for that are at least in my opinion, very high, understandably. And so I just wanted to make sure that I gave that to you all and understood. I think, as far as like, anything on point, I totally agree with, Brian, that the, statute doesn't say, what we have is just some case law where other mistakes have happened and how those have been treated. So.
Yeah, so I think you said it well earlier, Renee. We're not aware of anything else under Arkansas law that would allow us to place this question on the ballot.
Right.
So I agree with Brian, that statute's pretty clear.
It
Based on
doesn't give us any
time.
wiggle room.
Yeah, and it's a plain language reading of the statute. I don't think we even get into the intent and purpose behind it.
And don't get me wrong, elected officials do things and make decisions that are in contradiction to state law often. That's the whole reason there's a case that Mr. Eichmann brought up, was because something happened. And so I can't make that decision for you. I can't make that decision for Ms. Llewellyn. I can just say that, I don't see any ambiguity. I don't see anything in here that allows you, but certainly as a group, you're able to make those decisions and take your chance or whatever. Yeah, sorry about that. I just want to make you aware of that.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and then ultimately it's up to you all.
Well, it's difficult for me, given that we do have a specific number here and a date and a procedure that unfortunately didn't quite get followed. It's difficult for me to think that the election commission, unless you guys think otherwise, and we can certainly discuss it, but I don't see where we have latitude in that regard. Jim?
I know that this commission, has been very hardcore about trying to follow the law. Because we know how much of a, lens we're under, as far as sticking to the law. At the same time, we talk about the intent of the law. The intent of the city was to do it right. They did it in time, they just gave it to the wrong office. And I don't understand, for me, I don't understand why that office wouldn't say, hey, this, we're not supposed to have this. I don't know what they did with it. They held on to it or whatever,
I just would like, the circuit clerk's office does file city ordinances regularly.
Okay.
Yeah, that was something that.
And extensions and elections come to my office, everything else.
Okay, so it's not uncommon for the city to drop an ordinance off. Okay. It was, the intent was there. My heart goes out to you guys, and I would love to say yes, but sticking to the law, I don't know. Do you want to say something?
If I may, so where I'm at, and my understanding is, we did send it there, we called a few hours later. We weren't told it was in the wrong office. They accepted it at that office, and we weren't told that it was in a different office. We called, we had emails back and forth the same day, and we were never told. And that's where I have an issue, is because we thought we did it at the right place. We called, we talked to them, we emailed back and forth the same day, and we were never told. And if we send it to the wrong place, why wouldn't someone let us know, hey, this isn't where we're supposed to go, you should have gone across the hall. And with the emails, with the phone calls, we should have been told. So please consider that.
That may be, but I think the burden is on the filer to make sure you're filing in the right location. And we can't speak, of course, for the circuit clerk's office. And yeah, exactly. Not within our purview. To me, Arkansas law is pretty clear. We're required to follow Arkansas law as a commission. We can't make decisions that are outside the bounds or contradictory to Arkansas law. In my opinion, it's pretty clear. We don't follow the law. I haven't seen anything that will allow us to place the question on the ballot. The deadline's passed. There's no there's no ambiguity, in my opinion, about whether we can or can't add this to the.
So what I'm hearing you say is, this is not even up for a motion.
So you, Madam Chairman, I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
I guess the motion is to follow the law. But I mean, we're already bound to do that,
Sure.
so I
Sure.
don't know that there is a motion that we can introduce and put on the record other than we follow the law.
Brian, do you have any guidance about how to style it?
Yeah, I mean, that's your procedure. I think the motion, if a motion was made, there would have to be a motion made that you, make an exception in this case and take all things into consideration and I'll go ahead and allow it on the ballot. So that would probably be, if a motion's going, now, if a motion isn't made, then it moves on as if nothing happened
Yeah.
pursuant to parliamentary procedure.
I'm sorry.
No.
What are the consequences of putting it on the ballot?
Then we could be, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but I feel like someone could file suit against the election commission for placing an item on the ballot that should not have been placed on the ballot. And then we would have to defend that decision.
Could they make an
In
argument against the entire election because of that?
Well, yeah, I think their argument would be that it wasn't, the law wasn't followed, and therefore it should not be, that this particular election should stop. And I think that lawsuit would be against the election commission, the county clerk, and the county itself. And don't get me wrong, we would then go in and make the arguments that Mr. Eichmann has brought up and anything else that we could. And just kind of see how that played out. And if it didn't happen before the election occurred, there's even some case law that says that cures. And so it may be a moot point, the court may kick it out. So I mean, those are possibilities. We don't know exactly what would happen or, if a court would hear this, expeditiously, which oftentimes in election cases, there's some case law or not some, there's a statute that says in the event of an election challenge, you have to hear it very quickly. So those are the things, but yes, that's ultimately that's if someone challenged it.
Yeah,
If no one challenged it, it would move on.
that,
We would have finality and there would be no issue.
that would be the potential, legal, condition or what do we have to do physically, process?
Oh, okay.
to Make it work.
So I also wanted to say too, someone could file a complaint with the Attorney General's office and also the State Board of Election Commissioners and the Election Commission.
Overall.
Yeah, overall, that would be different than a court case, but it would be an action against the Election Commission
Yeah.
stating that you didn't follow the statute.
Yeah.
In order for us to place this on the ballot, we would have to go in and rework the Town precincts.
Okay, it would just be the time.
It would just be the Town precincts. We'd have to reburn all of our media because we do vote centers. So all of our media would have to be reburned. We would have to, because there's quite a bit of language here. We'd have to go in and add all of this to the Town precincts and then prove it, get the election commission to approve it, get the bond council to approve it, and then proceed from there. All of which has to be done before January 19th, or actually January 18th. That's my deadline to have the ballots to the county clerk's office.
Yeah, I think, Jim, to answer your question, the other consideration would be one of the precedent, right? If the election commission isn't gonna follow the statute,
Yeah.
the timeline specified it in this one instance, then, what's stopping us from not doing that in the future, right? So, anyway.
Okay, now, let's talk about the other side of it. If we go along with, we're following the law, that introduces us to being sued by the city of Tawnytown, correct? Or no?
I don't believe so. I mean, I think that would be a meritless lawsuit. And I won't talk to what Mr. Eichmann may or may not do or discuss, but I mean, ultimately the argument would be that,
We didn't
The
make
courts
the
frown
exception.
upon you filing a lawsuit for someone following the law.
Okay, okay.
So there may be something that an avenue, I don't know, and I don't want to speculate on that. But I just don't know that there's any other avenue.
Well,
I'm not inclined to put a motion on the table.
okay.
Same.
We are gonna follow the law as it's presented, and as much as we don't like that it's gonna disappoint y'all, I feel like we're in the clear on that. And therefore, we'll have to say, sorry.
No action.
And we appreciate your presenting your point of view. Man, I wish it had been different. I wish one little turn, but
I'm gonna take a shot at that special.
yeah. That would be my recommendation. I don't know what's involved there, but boy, I'd sure like to see you have a special election that would work this through. And that being the case, we'll move on to agenda item 2.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
So, the, Ellendale Baptist Church is working a new program where they are inviting the homeless in Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights when the temperature drops below 15. The space that they're wanting to use is the gymnasium where we hold early voting. And there's no predictors of when the weather is going to drop and when it's not going to drop. So that puts us in a situation where we are possibly, because we've used the chapel there at Elm Springs Baptist Church before.
No,
Or Elmdale,
Elmdale.
sorry, Elmdale. At Elmdale Baptist Church, do we tear down? Do we move? Where do the voters go? On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they vote here. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, maybe they vote in the other places. So for this election, I think it's best that we have all days of early voting at the chapel. It's the same location.
we just have to.
We're just
some
moving,
signs
we're
or
moving
something.
rooms.
Yeah.
The space is big enough. This will only occur in presidential elections because in November, we won't, exactly, it's not cold enough. When we have elections in May, it's not cold enough in April. So this is a unique situation to this time frame. But they will allow us to keep all of our machines up for the entire 2 weeks, where we were having to close the 2 Wednesdays at 4:30. We can now stay open until 6 o'clock and keep the hours consistent. One of the new law changes or that they've clarified is that while we can't delete any hours or delete any locations, we can certainly add to before we publish in the newspaper. We have not published, this is published online, but that's not the publication that they're talking about. So the election commission can move to change the Elmdale hours on Wednesday, the 21st and Wednesday, the 28th to 6
You
p.m.
haven't published those yet.
This has not been published in the newspaper. Me posting it online is not the same as it's published in the newspaper. So the election commission, we do have time to do that, and then that would make the hours consistent for the full 2 weeks, if the commission would like to do that.
Sure, why not? I mean, the location's the same, the address doesn't need to be.
The address
changed on it.
doesn't
Can I have a motion on that, y'all?
That moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, and you got it last night, oh, I shall give that to you.
That's easy enough. Just make sure you make the right turn, going back to your office.
Don't get lost. I won't.
Yeah, that's an easy fix there.
I thought so, and I had sent you the link to the news story, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and so, we just found out about that this week too. So we've been doing a lot of
Well, they probably hadn't given it much consideration until all this cold weather.
I don't think so. I think it's, last year, I think, homeless people, passed away, from the cold. I think in Fayetteville, and this is an outreach program. Ellendale Baptist Church is
Yeah.
really, wanting to outreach to the community.
They got that neighborhood.
They do, and so, this is part of that. It just, the election is early in the year, and so it impacts us in that way.
Yeah, well, that was an easy fix. What else do we have down here? Anything?
Nothing for me.
Yeah. Next meeting is on February the 8th at Thursday. Oh, is that one?
That one is at,
That's for logic and accuracy.
yeah, to sign our logic in accuracy.
Do we have it? Do we have?
I have it at
time?
9, but if you want to do it at 1, I'm okay with.
I decided one was real nice because there's no traffic on the
So
highway.
if we want to do it at 1 o'clock, we can do it at 1 if that.
I
works.
mean, I prefer 9.
Yeah.
When I'm coming off of 1 to 6 hours of travel. But, I don't care. I can probably make 1 o'clock work on.
All right,
as well.
shall we do one?
1 p.m.
Yeah, on
Okay.
February the 8th.
Okay.
And we're doing that here, right?
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
And that's it.
Okay, well, this meeting is adjourned then. You have anything to say? I should